I have 4 holes drilled, and when I was drilling those, I was trying to put pressure on the drill to not drive it through the Lexan. I didn't want to hit the Lexan hard, and I was holding pressure on the drill, holding it back. Now I'll begin to cut. And one of the problems I've had before with cutting out panels, let me say this, I never throw away old windshields because they are excellent if you need to make a windbreak or a panel to go on a bike, to maybe to direct heat onto your legs, or to break cold air off of you. These old windshields are invaluable because they're already curved and have a contour, and they're excellent for making up panels. So I never throw these away. One of the problems I've run into with cutting this plastic, I use a jigsaw, and sometimes the jigsaw begins to create heat from the friction, and the plastic will actually mold back together behind where you've cut. And it's always good to have a little cold water, spray some drop some cold water on it, and that'll help keep the plastic from re-molding itself back together behind your cut. Now here is my panel, and I missed my line up here a little bit, had a little trouble turning the jigsaw, but I'll take this over to the grinder, grind the edges down, we'll pull the tape off, and I'll buff the edges, polish those, and then we'll take it to the windshield and see where we need to start drilling our holes to attach it. Now this is the panel, this cutout. I'm going to take some sandpaper and work on the edges to flatten them down, then I'll buff the edges. But that is a door, a panel that will cover up the vent on the front of the windshield on the Concours. Alright, now I'm ready to trial fit the panel. I've buffed the edges and just buffed it with a standard buffing wheel, and just leftover paste that was on it from buffing aluminum. That gets rid of some of the rough edges, makes it look a little better. And now the panel will fit just like this. Now the next thing to do is I will tape up the windshield. Then I'll put the panel to the windshield and prepare to drill my holes and get ready to put my bolts and my washers in. So we'll tape the windshield up next, then we'll tape the panel and prepare to drill for the bolts that will hold the panel on. By the way, I have some of these KMW decals that I had made, Kawasaki Motor Works, and it may be that some of the Kawasaki riders, Concours riders would like to have those, and I have a very large supply of them, and if you want one for $5, I'll send it to you postage paid. All I need is your address, and I'll give you my address. You drop $5 in the mail, then I'll send one back to you. Now the panel is fitted up to the bike and ready to be drilled. I have the bottom square, and I will start by drilling small holes. And I'm going to use a small bolt anyway. This is a 5mm, and I will start with a pilot hole. And after looking at this, I think what I probably need to do is I'll probably put a bolt in the middle, a bolt here on this side, a bolt on this side, and a bolt at the bottom, and that should be enough. I don't want to get into drilling a whole bunch of holes because the more holes I drill, the greater risk I run in cracking the windshield. I thought about drilling here, here, and here, but I think that perhaps I'll go in the middle. I'll go here on this side, go here on this side, and at the bottom, and that should be sufficient to secure the panel. After I got started, I decided I would put 2 holes down here rather than one at the bottom. The bottom panel of the windshield is so thin that I was hesitant about trying to put a bolt through there. So we have one here, one here. There'll be a total of 5. And now I will drill and continue to step these holes up. The main thing is to not catch the plastic and twist or snap the plastic. That will cause a crack, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. These panels I made on this Vetter fairing. This is on an 82 KZ1100, and these are made side panels. And again, this is to keep the air off my hands. And these panels are made up out of old windshields. And then I bought these brackets at Ace Hardware, used an old tire inner tube as a rubber gasket, and then just put a simple bolt, small bolt and nut on it. And these worked out great. In the wintertime especially, these are wonderful. And with the Vetter vents here, I leave these on year round. I never take them off. And in the wintertime, it's a noticeable improvement, and I have installed heated grips on this bike, but it's still a noticeable improvement to have the wind here for these panels broken off of my hands. So we'll continue working until I get ready to have everything ready to put my bolts in. All right, the panel is now finished and bolted up. So I have my vent in the windshield covered up for the wintertime. Of course, I can take this off by removing these 5 bolts. The bolts I used was an M5 by 20 millimeters. That's the length of the bolt that goes through the windshield. I used a nylon nut. Of course, this is a M5 nylon nut that way the vibration, these won't back off, and I didn't have to over tighten them. And then I used a nylon washer, and these are number 10 nylon washers, and each bolt has 3 washers. There is a washer back here on the back side, then there's a nylon washer between the 2 pieces of plexiglass, there's another nylon washer here, and then these nuts are just snug. I don't want it to rattle. Again, that's one of the reasons I use the nylon nut, so that I won't have to over tighten these, because again, you don't want to get a crack started.